What's up YouTube? Lego Vampire Hair here, back again with another new video. So in this video I would like to discuss 3 streetwear brands that possibly have the potential to fall off pretty soon. Now what I mean by fall off is essentially losing their mainstream popularity and appeal that it seems like they've gotten within the past 2 or 3 years. Now you're going to notice something reoccurring on this list, and that is that I think the owners and creators of each of these brands are essentially going to play in the downfall of each of these brands. Now, starting off with the first one being Antisocial Social Club. As you know, that is Neek Lurk's brand, otherwise known as Anti-Shipping Shipping Club, and a variety of other memes which I've already discussed in my Gildan video. And you have people still complaining about the horrible service, although based on the brand's name you should have probably expected horrible service. At least that's some people's actual argument and defense of the brand, which I find ridiculous. But anyway, there are people who ordered stuff in July and we are already the end of October pretty much, and they have still not gotten their products. And then you have the whole Gildan thing, which they ended up changing obviously later on as the years progressed, which I guess is some sign of improvement. But you also just have a guy who won't ship you your shirts, but on his personal Instagram will flex his McLarens, his Ferrari FF, his Ferrari 458 Speciale. I think he has a 48 GTB at this point as well. Yeah, you just have a guy who's clearly showing you like, hey, I bought all this stuff with that money that you spent on my shirts that even though I never sent out the shirts, I still got your money, so... Neek Lurk, I feel like, will ultimately end the brand. I'm sure at some point, at least I hope, the consumer base at some point will realize this guy doesn't care about you. He obviously doesn't care about improving his service. And the fact that you keep supporting someone who more than likely won't ever give you your shirt, which is just a screen printed tee, it doesn't take that long to make. But the fact that someone won't deliver that to you within a reasonable amount of time, I just hope the consumer doesn't put up with it in the future. Now, can I knock the hustle? Absolutely not. I mean, he pretty much finessed all these kids. I mean, you see his lifestyle, his very luxurious and lavish lifestyle, which he flexes on Instagram constantly. But, I don't know, I feel like the customer base will get sick of it. Honestly, at least probably pretty soon. Unless there's like a drastic improvement in service or in design language, because the brand kind of seems boring to me, but I don't know, if you like it, that's completely fine, but it just seems a little dull and lackluster and just genuinely uninteresting. But hey, if he does improve service, maybe he proves me wrong, maybe it does last. I just don't think it will ever be a Supreme or a Vape where it can kind of last for such a long time. I really don't see it happening. I see it kind of fading away, kind of like Tisa or something like that, just a little fad thing for the here and now and gone tomorrow. And next, moving on to number 2, we have Jerry Lorenzo's Fear of God. And why I think Jerry will ultimately play a pivotal role in the downfall of his own brand is he has a strong likability problem. I mean, every time I want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, he constantly showcases that he is somewhat of a bully online, threatening people like, oh, your brand's copying my aesthetic, I'm gonna shut you down, and all this other crazy stuff. When in reality, a brand making significantly cheaper alternatives to you, I really just highly doubt you have the same consumer base, because you're probably, like at your price points, you're probably hitting upper class, and all these other brands' price points are probably geared more towards people in the middle class. So I really don't see how that ultimately interferes with your business. Maybe somebody would disagree with that, but I really just don't see it. Just because someone puts zippers at the bottom of pants, which I've seen YouTubers do on tutorials way before Fear of God existed. Like, you didn't invent that. Now, I had to pause the video right here and add some more detailed thoughts that I feel like I left out. I understand that having a few streetwear brands mimic the exact cut, fit, distressing, and colorway of your garments can be frustrating. But, even though you may not like it, what they're doing is technically not illegal.
It would be one thing if they were ripping off logos, your brand's name, or legitimately making fakes pretending to be your product, like the store Old School LA, which since has been rightfully shut down. But most of these brands aren't doing that. So you threatening to call the police or take legal action against some of them holds absolutely no weight, and it makes you come across as some internet tough guy who uses intimidation to get people to do what you want. And just out of curiosity, I would like to pose a question to Jerry, if he ever happens to see this video. Did you ever try asking the owners of these smaller brands in a professional manner to at least change patterns, designs, and colors so it doesn't look overly similar? Or did you immediately just run straight to social media to vent your frustrations and to threaten them with lawsuits? Another quick thing, although you can be credited with popularizing a lot of these styles, you didn't necessarily invent them. The majority of the brand's aesthetic is clearly influenced by 90s grunge culture, but anyway, back to the video.
You're the guy who's constantly pointing the finger and saying, everyone's copying me, I want to get that brand shut down, I want to get that brand shut down. But you were accused of copying Rick Owens as well as Reebok.
Aww.
So I don't really see how you can constantly accuse people of copying you when you mimicked other brands and other styles as well. And another thing that I've noticed, a lot of people who actually liked his brand at one point, they've told me things like, oh, I'm not really interested anymore. It seems like it's the same thing over and over and over again. And I feel like it's true. I feel like it really hasn't evolved all that much. I mean, it's cool to have like the aesthetic that people know you for, but if you're kind of re-releasing the same thing over and over, which is currently a gripe I actually have with other brands, even including brands I like, which I will mention later on, it kind of gets a little stale and a little boring. Like sometimes maybe you want new colors utilized or other cuts or different things. It doesn't always have to be the same thing over and over again. Although I do understand if it is like perfect, don't change anything. But at those like price points, don't you want things to start changing and maybe look a little bit more wild and out there? You know, take a bit of a risk, I guess. But I don't know, man. Do I think Fear of God and Fog have the potential to fall off? I think it's already happening. I think people are realizing that at least the image he portrays online in these isolated incidents, whether it be on Twitter, Instagram, etc., I think people don't like him, which causes them to not like the brand. And then, you know, you have the Jerry Boy meme. Like I said, I like some of the aesthetic. Like, I don't dislike zipper pants. I was wearing flannels before Fear of God. That's not really a point there. But I don't know. I think it can fall off pretty soon. Like I said, I think it's already happening. And moving on to the final brand on this list, we have ASAP Bari's VLONE. Now, those of you who have been longtime subscribers or maybe follow me on Instagram and caught a live stream or two are probably well aware that I never liked Bari. I never liked VLONE, even prior to the video that surfaced, which ultimately ended his Nike collaboration. I just never really understood it, I guess. I mean, you had, I think, if I remember the price point correctly, but if not, somebody comment what the price points were. I think the blank hoodie or tee or whatever, the black one with the orange V or whatever design, I think that went for $150, and the rumor was that those were Gildan blanks or something of a comparable price point. And I don't know, it just never really appealed to me. I know it was extremely popular for that like short while, and a lot of kids really went crazy for it. But once that video surfaced, I don't know if you guys were on Grailed when that video surfaced, but by the dozens, every single time I refreshed Grailed, you had tons of the tees, tons of the hoodies. Pretty much every product that brand had released was flooding Grailed because people did not want to be affiliated with him after that video. And if you don't know the controversy that transpired, I would suggest Googling it because I really don't want to talk about it any more than I already have. Or kind of, I don't know, just Google it. I'm sure most of you who are on this channel probably already know what occurred. I did have a rant live stream at one point, but Yeah, anyway, moving on. Aside from that, aside from the low tier quality, aside from it just being not that interesting to me, and him just being a friend of a celebrity, in my opinion, not really much of a creative designer. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too harsh, but you also had a guy who would criticize you for buying his sneaker and wearing it a way that he didn't think was cool. I don't know if any of you ever caught that little Instagram beef, but some kid bought the VLONE Air Force Ones, and he was pretty much saying, like, get rid of them, don't wear those, you look like trash in them. Like, he was roasting somebody who bought them to support the brand because he didn't like the way he was wearing it. And that's like some next level douchey, I don't even know, man. That's just, man, I can't cuss. That's just messed up beyond belief. I know you have the right to be like, oh, I don't really like that. But for you to roast someone who bought your stuff to try and support you and tell him that, like, he doesn't look good in it, how could you support somebody like that? How could you support someone that did what he did or said what he said in his video? Straight up, I don't like him. I would never want to be affiliated with him. And I think it's already fallen off, but do I think it'll disappear? Honestly, no. I mean, look at what Chris Brown did. I know this is super sidebar, but look at what Chris Brown did. People still bought his music. People still bought his albums because people love that redemption story. You know, maybe he comes back, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I found Jesus. You know how people are. People try to, like, really root for you when you're in your redemption phase. So do I think VLONE will completely disappear? At first, I would have said yes. Initially, I would have 100% said VLONE is dead. It is no more. But now I'm starting to think maybe he creeps back into the limelight. Maybe people just forget because with time, it seems like almost anything can be healed. Will there always be naysayers? Of course, absolutely. And I think it's justified completely to dislike this guy. But like I already said, we've seen in the past with other celebrities or whatnot that it is possible to still end up selling your product regardless of whatever negativity you had in the press or whatever, you know, went public. So these three brands, I think all three owners have a likability problem or just have a track record of, I don't know, it's not a clean track record, I guess you could say. The worst being Bari, obviously. Whatever Neek does, whether it be not shipping or Jerry just kind of being a bit of a dick, that's nowhere near as bad as Bari, so that's why I put VLONE at the top of this list. If you disagree with any of this, feel free to comment below. If you like any of these brands, then who cares what I say? It's literally not that serious, but yeah, tell me if there's any other brands that you think are gonna fall off, and also tell me if you think there's any brands that will ever rival what Supreme and Bape like have become. Because I really can't think of one of any of the streetwear brands. So yeah, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Also, I do have some stuff for sale on Grailed. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and peace out, YouTube.